And she used to be great. She's still very beautiful. I moved on her, actually. She was down in Palm Beach. I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it. Whoa. I did try and fuck her. She was married. That's huge news there. No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was... And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch. But I couldn't get there. And she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look.
She's your girl's hot as shit. In the purple.
Whoa!
Yes!
Whoa!
Yes, the Donald has scored!
Whoa!
Oh, my man! Wait, you gotta look at me when you get out of here. Set this up.
That is very...
You give me the thumbs
look
up.
at you. You are...
You gotta put the thumbs up. You gotta get the thumbs up. Can't be too happy.
Yeah, let me... That's very funny. You and I will walk in.
Got it.
Maybe it's a different one.
Better not be the host. No, it's her.
Yeah, that's her, with the gold. I gotta use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Okay, what's up, family? So, y'all know with the little Bill Cosby and Kavanaugh thing in the news, sexual assault, and that's what's going on right now. So, what I figured I would do is just kind of, reach into the file cabinet and pull out some little old news that I really don't think too many people are aware of, and I definitely know that the media, the mainstream media, uh, they touched on it real quick, but they let that go super fast. So as you can see, and as you can, I brought it in with that intro to let y'all know kind of who I'm talking about too with this topic. So, it may be a little touchy or whatever, and I got a feeling that some of them Trump cats that may stumble across this, they may feel a type of way and report the video or whatever, but that's cool. I ain't, it ain't being monetized. I ain't trying to make no money off of it. So, but I think it's important because y'all heard how like when Constance said an assault happened on particular day with Cosby, how everybody that was kind of getting the news from the media, they rallied behind her, spoke up for her, and it was kind of like, well, we ain't don't even question it. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't, because it was almost like if you question her story, then you kind of shaming the victim. So anyway, I think in this case, the same approach, if anything, should be taken. I mean, some people was uh, saying Cosby was guilty before the trial happened, and even after the first trial. They still was, talking about he was drugging women and had all these accounts or whatever. So, and like even when I mentioned Kavanaugh, some people like, man, this is Supreme Court justice, and he got this type of accusations on him. Like just from that fact alone, he shouldn't be in the position. So I think this one right here, and as you can see, the names that's listed, the two defendants that's listed. And for those that don't really know too much about Jeffrey Epstein, just Googling, he a registered three-sex offender. For those who do know about him, y'all know about how Bill Clinton was one of the people listed on the flight log for his airplane that was, taking trips back and forth to his private island, Epstein's private island. And, y'all kind of know that story, but y'all know that this guy is an extra shady character with big money that's listed as a defendant with, Donald J. Trump. So I just felt it'd be necessary to be thorough right here and just kind of read the documents. 'Cause I know some people don't like to read, and then people will say, well, you made this up, or, so I'm going to attach the links so y'all can look it up for yourself and y'all can read it. Because I remember even the mention of Jeffrey Epstein with Clinton, a lot of Trump supporters was would bring that up as if to say Clinton, he was hanging with a pedophile. He probably had underage girls that he was, then they would kind of affiliate his past little, things that he had going on when he was in office to kind of say, yeah, look, I mean, that fit the MO. So I kind of think this would be the same thing. So let me read this and just get right on into it, y'all. All right, and then there'll be a couple times where, I may take a little break and not say anything because I'm drinking some juice here. So, you may hear that break. But, all right, so let me get into it. It says, I, Jane Doe, the plaintiff, in this matter proceeding under a pseudonym, states as follows. I am a competent adult over 18 years of age, able to testify as to personal knowledge. The facts in this declaration are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief, and I am competent to testify to them if called upon to do so. I was subject to extreme sexual and physical abuse by the defendants, including forcible rape that took place at several parties of defendant Epstein during the summer of 1994 in New York City at a residence used by defendant Epstein. During this period, I was 13 years old. More particularly, I traveled by bus to New York City in June 1994 in the hope of starting a modeling career. I went to several modeling agencies but was told that I needed to put together a modeling portfolio before I would be considered. I then went to the Port Authority in New York City to start to make my way back home. There I met a woman who introduced herself to me as Tiffany. She told me about the parties and said that if I would join her at the parties, I would be introduced to people who could get me into the modeling profession. Tiffany also told me I would be paid for attending. Hmm. These parties were held in New York City residence that was being used by defendant Jeffrey Epstein. Each of the parties had other minor females and a number of guests of Mr. Epstein, including defendant Donald Trump at four of the parties I attended. I understood that both Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein knew that I was 13 years old. Defendant Trump had sexual contact with me at four different parties in the summer of 1994. On the fourth and final sexual encounter with Defendant Trump tied me to a bed, exposed himself to me, and then proceeded to forcibly rape me. During the course of this savage sexual attack, I loudly pleaded with the defendant Trump to stop, but he did not. Defendant Trump responded to my pleas violently, striking me in the face with his open hand and screaming that he would do whatever he wanted. Immediately following this rape, defendant Trump threatened me that were I ever to reveal any of the details of defendant Trump's sexual and physical abuse of me, my family and I would be physically harmed, if not killed. Defendant Epstein had sexual contact with me at two of the parties that summer. On the second occasion involving Defendant Epstein forced himself upon me and proceeded to rape me anally and vaginally, despite my loud pleas to stop. Defendant Epstein then attempted to strike me about the head with his closed fist while he angrily screamed at me that he, Defendant Epstein, should have been the one who took my virginity, not Defendant Trump, before I finally managed to break away from Defendant Epstein. Immediately following this rape, just like Defendant Trump, Defendant Epstein threatened me not to ever reveal any of the details of Defendant Epstein's sexual and physical abuse of me, or else my family and I would be physically harmed, if not killed. Both defendants had let me know that each was a very wealthy, powerful man and indicated that they had the power, ability, and means to carry out their threats. Indeed, defendant Trump stated that I shouldn't ever say anything if I didn't want to disappear like Maria, a 12-year-old female that was forced to be involved in the third incident with defendant Trump, and that I had not seen since that third incident, and that he was capable of having my whole family killed. The duress imposed on me by defendants not to ever reveal any of the details of the sexual and physical abuse caused to me by defendants has not terminated, and the fear it has instilled in me has not subsided. Unfortunately, making matters worse for me, I was subjected to daily painful reminders of the horrific acts of defendant Trump via mass media coverage of him starting last summer that over a short period of time became continuous and unavoidable. The duress had prevented me from starting litigation before this year. However, as soon as I surfaced, I received threats. More specifically, shortly after my first complaint was filed in California on April 26, 2016, I started receiving threatening phone calls on the cell phone I then owned. The calls were never for more than 20 seconds or so before they hung up, and they were always from a blocked or unavailable phone number, according to my caller ID feature. Since I changed phone numbers, the threatening calls have completely stopped. This litigation involves matters that are highly sensitive and of personal nature, and I believe that identification of me will pose a risk of retaliatory physical harm to me and to others. I have no reason to believe that the defendant's threats have ever been lifted or will ever be lifted, and so I request that the court issue an order protecting me and my family from harm and harassment by the defendants. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. So you see the date that was June 18th, 2016. She went by Jane Doe. So now let me insert this point real quick. Now with the issue again with Cosby, and I think even some of the other little things that's been circulating, like when they had the Morgan Freeman accusations and a couple of other ones. I can't even remember the white guy do the movies, but if on some of those accusations that those women made, if there was someone else who would have said or corroborated the story, like, "Nah, I was there, I saw it," um, you know, that would have been like the definite nail in the coffin for a lot of people. It wouldn't have been too much more left to be said. So the reason I'm saying that is because later on in this document, further down on page 1, I'm gonna read that to y'all and check this out. Hold on. All right, Tiffany Doe, a pseudonym, states as follows. Now remember, before I get into this, that uh, originally the 13-year-old, or I guess at that time, she said she met an individual named Tiffany at the Port Authority on her way back home. So this is that Tiffany. So it says, I am a competent adult over 18 years of age, able to testify as to personal knowledge. The facts in this declaration are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief, and I am competent to testify if to them if called upon to do so. I originally met Jeffrey E. Epstein in New York City in 1990 when I was the age of 22. I attended a series of parties in the same year of 1990 where I was paid to entertain various guests of Mr. Epstein. In the year 1991, I was promoted to the occupation of party planner, in which my duties were to get attractive adolescent women to attend these parties. I was hired by and paid directly by Mr. Epstein from the years of 1991 to 2000 to attract adolescent women to attend these parties, most of which were held at what is known as the Wexner Mansion, located at 9 East 71 First Street in New York City. In June 1994, while performing my duties as a recruiter of adolescent women to attend Mr. Epstein's party, I met a 13-year-old adolescent woman, the plaintiff in this matter, at the Port Authority in New York City, who said that she had come to New York in the hope of starting a modeling career. I persuaded the plaintiff to attend a series of parties of Mr. Epstein that took place during the summer of 1994. I told her that if she would join me at the parties, she would be introduced to people who could get her into the modeling profession, and she would be paid for attending. It was at these series of parties that I personally witnessed the plaintiff being forced to perform various sexual acts with Donald J. Trump and Mr. Epstein. Both Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were advised that she was 13 years old. I personally witnessed 4 sexual encounters that the plaintiff was forced to have with Mr. Trump during this period, including the fourth of these encounters where Mr. Trump forcibly raped her despite her pleas to stop. All right. I personally witnessed the one occasion where Mr. Trump forced the plaintiff and a 12-year-old female named Maria to perform oral sex on Mr. Trump and witnessed his physical abuse of both minors when they finished the act. I personally witnessed or was made immediately aware of the two occasions where my boss, Mr. Epstein, attempted to rape and sodomize the plaintiff. I personally witnessed Mr. Epstein sexually and physically abuse other minor females even younger than her. It was my job to personally witness and supervise encounters between the underage girls that Mr. Epstein hired and his guests. I personally witnessed Mr. Trump physically threaten the life and well being of the plaintiff if she ever revealed any details of the physical and sexual abuse suffered by her at the hands of Mr. Trump. I personally witnessed Mr. Epstein physically threaten the life and well being of the plaintiff if she ever revealed the details of the physical and sexual abuse she suffered at the hands of Mr. Epstein or any of his guests. I personally witnessed defendant Trump telling the plaintiff that she shouldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like the 12-year-old female Maria, and that he was capable of having her whole family killed. After leaving the employment of Mr. Epstein in the year 2000, I was personally threatened by Mr. Epstein that I would be killed and my family killed as well if I ever disclosed any of the physical and sexual abuse of minor females that I had personally witnessed by Mr. Epstein or any of his guests. I am coming forward to swear to the truthfulness of the physical and sexual abuse that I personally witnessed of minor females at the hands of Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein, including the plaintiff, during the time of my employment from the years of 1990 to 2000 for Mr. Epstein. I swear these facts under penalty of perjury, even though I fully understand that the life of myself and my family is now in grave danger. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. June 8th, 2016. So, and then just to be thorough, there is a John Doe attached to this. And so, and this states that I am a competent adult over 18 years of age, able to testify as to personal knowledge. The facts in this declaration are true and correct to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief, and I am competent to testify to them if called upon to do so. In the 1994-95 school year, I was told by plaintiff in Jane Doe versus Trump and Epstein that the plaintiff was subject to sexual contact by the defendants at parties in New York City during the summer of 1994. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. So, between those three documents that I just shared with y'all, and then knowing that who Jeffrey Epstein is, uh, like I said, a registered three-sex offender, you would think, well, I mean, y'all know why it ain't really get no mention, and why when talk of sexual molesters and pedophiles and sexual assault comes up, this doesn't come up. I mean, y'all know why. I ain't even really got to say anything. And if this is just an accusation, and though he came out and denied some of these accusations, said it wasn't true, this is what Donald Trump said. Even if that's the case, I mean, we saw that with Bill Cosby. He said it wasn't true, but that don't mean anything. I mean, definitely not to the court of public opinion. So, and then just thinking like, what, like the dates for this, July 23rd is 2016 is when this final one was signed. And so I was, just kind of checking the mental Rolodex. In July 2016, family, that's when the young man shot those police down in Dallas. And so, they got all of the media coverage, like everywhere you look, you know what I mean? And then like ten days later, I think another black guy shot some police down there in Louisiana, like three of them. So that was all over the news during that July month in 2016. So that was an excellent opportunity for them to broadcast that and not this. So I just figured I would put that out, like I said, with the conversation about, Cosby and Kavanaugh and some of these other individuals in the past, over the past couple months or the past year or so, that's been getting somewhat exposed. I would think the big fish would be this one. So, like I said, I just wanted to share that information. So, being this about the old poultice, I got a feeling, this video is a good chance it may get flagged. But if so, cool, whatever. But I'm gonna attach the link so y'all can kind of check those out. And that's it. But all right, y'all, stay woke. Peace.